Hey guys, my name's Dee, this is the Heroine's Corner and welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to have a small discussion about issue books and my issue with issue books. So please remember, if you like me, if you like this video, to like and subscribe down below. But without further ado, let's get into this conversation. So when I'm talking about issue books, I'm mostly talking about the recent books that have come out of like recent years about like race and identity and all these different things. So I'm talking about books like how to be anti-racist, or why I'm no longer talking about race to white people, and those types of books. And I firstly want to say that I am not against these books at all. I read issue books because sometimes it's good to read a book that validates your experience or your viewpoints, and so to kind of know that you're not crazy when you're thinking about all these different things. So I do not hate issue books, and I don't hate people who read issue books. But I do want to talk about how sometimes the narrative is that if you read an issue book, you are suddenly anti-racist. You know what I mean? Like, reading a book on anti-racism is not a shortcut to being anti-racist. Let me say that again. Reading an anti-racism book is not a shortcut to being anti-racist. It does not mean you are anti-racist. It doesn't even mean that you are practicing anti-racism. It just means that you've read an anti-racism book. So, of course, if you're reading an anti-racism book, it means that you're going to have a more enlightened understanding about race and identity and all these different things. So I'm not saying that no good can come out of reading anti-racism books. I'm just saying, like, you still need to be active in your allyship, in combating racism, being anti-racist. You still have to be very active in doing those things. And it's almost like just knowing about anti-racism helps, but that doesn't cure the problem of racism. So that's why I'm really wary about kind of lists that come out in like publications where it's like, oh, these are the top anti-racism books to not be anti-racist anymore, and all these different things. I feel like sometimes the anti-racism genre almost like oversimplifies this issue and puts in a very nice, neat, bookish package. Anti-racism genre feels almost like a trend, and it only becomes trendy after a black person has died, which is so problematic. Like, it's just, the more I talk about the anti-racism genre, the more I feel so uneasy about it. And it's like, I understand that it does good, but also we just need to make sure that we're not making anti-racism trendy, and all these books are suddenly coming out. We need to make, and suddenly everyone's buying all these books. I just don't want anti-racism to be commercialized. Secondly, I want to talk about how I don't want this genre to be the only genre that black people write about, and obviously that isn't the real circumstance of black people writing all these different genres, of course, but I just don't want it to be that black people are expected to talk about race and all these different issues when they want to be writing a book. And I want to kind of bring in some of my problems I have with nonfiction at the moment, and when I'm trying to read nonfiction books. And I find that if the nonfiction book is not about race or the history of race, or having an identity crisis or things like of that nature, the book is not going to be written by a black person. Like, that is point blank period. Like, if I just want a kind of casual history book about something, maybe about fashion or whatever it is, if it's just not about race, it's so hard to find a non-fiction book that is just written by a black person when it's not about race. I want to talk about black labor as well, and how this kind of genre is just like black people having to teach other people not to be racist, or all these different things. It's like, that obviously comes with exhaustion, that obviously comes with this element of being tired. It's almost like publishing wants to speak to black people when black people are teaching them something. People want black people and black people are doing something for them, and that can easily just be education. Even though education is a really good thing, a healing thing, an enlightening thing, it's still something that you're expecting black people to do for you. And the last thing I want to talk about on this issue is just making sure that booktube in particular, or just like other communities, are not just resting on reading anti-racism books to think that that's the extent of their allyship. Make sure when you are recommending books, there isn't just a token BIPOC book just to show that you're not racist. Like, I know it's kind of like hard, like when can you, like, so I need to be recommending like free BIPOC books like every video. I'm not talking about, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes you could tell when it's organic, and sometimes you could tell when they're just picking up the most popular black book and you're like, oh, here, I recommend this book as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can tell when it's organic, and you can tell when it's just tokenism. This is just my plea to the booktube community, I guess, to just remember to recommend diverse books. And when you're doing all those recommendation videos, when you're doing your readathons, when you're doing your TBRs, you just remember to just include black literature in your TBRs and in your recommendation videos, and when it's not just the anti-racism books, okay? So just because you read one anti-racism book doesn't mean that you don't have to read any black literature for the next 3 months until the next kind of like black readathon. That's not how it goes, okay? Make sure you're continuously reading black literature when it's not just about us teaching you how not to be racist. Also, we need to think about the audience and who is this book primarily aimed at. So even though I'm glad that a lot of black authors and writers are getting this kind of publicity and like all of this publicity and all this visibility through their books, I am wondering if publishing is only doing this because they know that a lot of white people are going to be reading their books. Oh no, it's kind of like you're printing black work but not for black people. That's just another kind of side of the black labor issue that I have sometimes with anti-racism. Like, we only listen to black people and they're educating us, and we're only giving black people money and all these opportunities when it's for a white audience and it isn't for black people. I've already touched on this topic a bit with my black fantasy TBR video when I talk about how important the black fantasy genre is when combating publishing's bias towards black pain stories and black trauma and all that stuff. So I've already touched on this topic a bit, but I just wanted to reaffirm it in this video that don't exclusively read the anti-racism genre, because while that might be educating you, it's not the whole solution to anti-racism. And the best thing you can be doing really is just to read widely. I don't want to tell you what books to read, but that's just like me saying, please don't just read the anti-racism books, because it's kind of just weird. I don't know, like, don't you find it weird, like, if I'm just watching person and all the books we're reading are just like anti-racism books, that feels kind of sus, I'm not gonna lie. I also want to say that this isn't a dig towards black authors or black writers who are talking about race and racism, because these are obviously important topics that need to be talked about, and I'm glad that like books are being written about race and racism. And you know, I mean, I'm not against this genre completely, but I think we have to just make sure that we're not just reading them after a black person has died, and secondly, we need to make sure that we're sustaining this interest in black authors and what they're writing, what they're talking about. And sometimes they're not always going to be talking about racism, and you should still be supporting black authors in that instance. But that's it for today's video, guys. Again, I just wanted this to be a short discussion of me talking about anti-racism and the anti-racism genre, because while it does a lot of good, and you know, with breeding this understanding and all these different things, I am wary of this being the kind of, you know, one all solution to racism. And if you suddenly read an anti-racism book, you're anti-racist. That is not how it goes, guys. Yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys soon on another video. Bye.